Welcome to the sixth window in the 2019 TooFatLardies Advent calendar. And today, Nick's going to tell us about the non-Lardy games that he enjoys playing.
The question of what non-Lardy games do I like to play is actually a tough one to answer, because obviously at the moment we invest huge amounts of time and energy into developing and playing TooFatLardies games, and there isn't really much space around the edges to play a lot else. If I go way back to about 1984, when I first walked in the door at St Albans War Games Club, there was a chap there called Will McNally, and Will was the kind of guy who used to design and write his own war games rules on sort of 3 or 4 sides of photocopied paper. He had rules for American Civil War, he'd written rules for American War of Independence, he had his own rules for Napoleonic, he had his own rules for Zulu games that we used to play. And Bill was very clear, and I guess set the standard for me that it's okay for you to design your own games and not have to play other people's. And Bill's games were really good fun. I used to really enjoy playing Bill's games. They were simple in as much as they were not complicated, and we used to have a good fun time playing them. There was a great aspect in his Zulu games, I seem to remember, which was interesting in as much as the more you tried to spot the Zulus, the more Zulus you would spot, which I think you could say is a little gap in the rule, which I'm sure Bill himself would laugh about. And so it soon got to the point where people would not bother trying to spot the Zulus, because you knew that if you went looking for them, you would find thousands of them. Much easier to defeat the ones you can spot rather than go looking for a load more. So really, over the years, most of the stuff we played has been homegrown. We used to play a lot of Principles of War at one time. That was quite fun. And we've been through sessions of playing commercially available body count rules for Vietnam, which I really enjoyed for a time, actually. And then I played them once after a gap of about 5 years, and I thought, hang on a minute, these are not quite the rules that I want them to be any longer. And that was one of the things that set us off down the line of I Ain't Been Shot, Mum, or Charlie Don't Surf. I enjoy playing the SPI games, or the Avalon Hill games, the large strategic tabletop hex-based games where you have a battalion, which is a cardboard counter. I enjoy playing those. The issue with those is that they are long and they take a lot of setting up. We recently played the Bitter Woods game, which was the game set in the German counterattack in the Ardennes, and it must have taken me sort of 3 hours to set the game up in the first place, and then we played it for another 4 hours and still didn't quite finish it. So it was a full day to get into that. But I like the fact that they allow you to see a campaign in overview. I've got a game called Holland 44, which is a more recent version of a similar kind of game, which is obviously about Market Garden, and that's interesting to look at the overall development of the campaign. So those games I find those really quite interesting. I'm quite interested also in other games, not war games, so board gaming, and how board games create have different mechanisms for playing different games. So, for instance, there's a fun board game that we've been playing recently. I've been playing it at home, actually. My kids quite like it, my teenage kids. And this is called Black Orchestra. Black Orchestra is a game which is actually about the assassination of Hitler. It's rather odd to think that you can have a game about assassinating somebody. But seeing as it's Hitler, I think that's probably fair game. And the way it works is that it's a collaborative game, and players take on the role of characters in the Abwehr or the Wehrmacht or the German or the civilian sort of Nazi government, and you have to maintain or create your motivation to kill Hitler whilst keeping your level of suspicion low, and that's quite good fun. It's quite a good game to play, and it's got some interesting mechanisms in it. Of course, it's set against the evolving timeline of the Second World War, so Hitler's own popularity rises and falls, and of course as his popularity rises and falls, it makes it more difficult for you to make progress when you're plotting against him. But I quite like the idea of the way that game works. That's quite good fun. My daughter is also a fan of Catan, which is the settler game, and those type of games in general go down quite well in our family. Which is nice to play games with the family, of course. And I like to go to the Games Expo. The UK Games Expo runs every year in June, and it's worth going there, I find, to get a look at what else is happening outside of wargaming, to see what people are using, how people are developing games, because the great thing about the Games Expo is you get to sit down and play them and have fun playing them as well, so that's good. What else have we done recently? I enjoyed a game of U-Boat that we played, fun enough, with Fraser McConaughey and Sean Randall down in Croydon, which was an app-based game. This was obviously you command a U-boat, collaborative game, and you take the U-boat out on a cruise with the intention of sinking Allied shipping. And each person in the team takes on a different role, say the captain, the navigator, chief engineer, etc. I think they're really quite interesting. I think it reminds me of some of these, Target for Tonight games where you play the part of a bomber crew going on a raid over Germany. So I quite like those kind of things. But yeah, not too much time to play too many non-Lardy stuff, but it is something really want to do more of. I really want to play to the strongest and have a go with that. I really want to play some Rommel and maybe some Blucher to have a look at those. And I think we're probably looking for Sid to lead us into some of these 2 mil games, because his thinking there is really quite interesting, and I'd love to have a go at a few more of those. So always nice to have think you can play more stuff that isn't Lardy. And of course, the guys at Warbases have designed a game which is called All for One, which is around the Musketeers, and Sid and I have been trying to find some time to have a game of that this year. I really want to have a game of that. That's around, obviously, the story about the Musketeers in the French court with D'Artagnan and Aramis and Athos and Porthos, etc., going on ridiculous escapades to foil the Red Guard and Cardinal Richelieu, etc. Really like the fun aspect of those that I think that could create, because I think we can actually get some great games from that, and also have a bit of a giggle at the same time. So I really want to get to have a go with that. I've got some figures for it. We haven't yet had a go to play the game. So in the new year, my resolution will be to get that game out and get some time with Sid to play that.
Remember, lard is for life and not just for Christmas.